Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bedtime with Tomi. This evening we'll be reading chapter 12 from Dancing with the Royal, David's point of view. David jumped to his feet and inserted his fingers into his mouth, letting out a sheer whistle. He clapped his hands until they were numb. Do you have any idea how long Miss Little plans to stay in town? David's mother asked, folding her hands on her lap. No, I don't. Well, I suppose it doesn't matter. I'll have Abigail send her an invitation to her for afternoon tea in the morning. Mother, David warned, I'm the patron of the Westminster Ballet. It's my duty to take an active interest in all visiting guests. She waved him off. You're invited too, of course. David looked away from her. Dun dun dun. The sounds of trouble echoed inside his head. Jenna gleefully jumped to her feet as the dancers prepared to come out on stage one final time, startling David and his mother. There was an endless sea of leaps, pirouettes, and other brilliant skills showcased. The audience would be talking about this performance for a long while. Jenna and David, however, only had eyes for one dancer, Clara. She's a lovely dancer. Her port de bras reminds me so much of the videos of Dame Margot Fontaine, Jenna gushed. Anton carried Clara across the stage. The two friends applauded with bravado. It was taking every ounce of David's self-control to keep from running backstage to check on how Clara was doing. Mother, if you don't mind, I'd like to join you and Lord Cranston when the dancers are presented to you. I hosted them for a luncheon yesterday. In a few minutes, I'll be heading down to the Grand Ballroom to meet some of the ballet's more generous patrons for cordials. I hope you'll join me. Mother's tone wasn't asking. It was commanding him. Yes, Mom. Excellent. She gathered her handbag and program and moved to speak to Dr. and Mrs. Evans. His ballerina would have to wait. When had he started thinking of her as his ballerina? Why was he so affected by her? Yes, she was physically beautiful, but there was something else that was drawing him to her. Something he couldn't quite put his finger on. He ran a hand over his jaw and settled his gaze on Jenna, thumbing through her program. Jenna, he muttered, causing her head to pop up. Huh? I have a mission for you. As long as it doesn't get me into trouble, he chuckled. Would I do that to you? She hesitated. You? No. Edmund? Yes. It's nothing bad, I promise. She nodded and gave David her full attention. Between you and me, I like Clara very much. He rubbed his hands together. You think you can find a way to follow your father backstage and check up on her for me? I'd also like you to take note of anything else she tells you, like her favorite foods. What's in it for me? Eddie had taught her well. You get the opportunity to meet Clara. He offered his hand to Jenna. Do we have a deal? David could sense her considering his offer as she rocked back and forth on her heels. Add in 3 rounds of playing Mario Kart with me, and I'll do it, Jenna countered. You drive a hard bargain, but I think those are acceptable terms. They sealed the deal with a handshake and departed to join the others for drinks and dessert. Thank you so much for joining me this evening for another chapter of Dancing with the Royal. We'll continue with David and Clara's story tomorrow. Have a good rest of your evening. Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bedtime with Tomi. This evening we'll be reading chapter 13, Clara's point of view. Although all of her reserves had been drained, Clara still felt content, as if she were floating on air. Anton, I don't think I'm going to be able to thank you enough for tonight. I've felt so at home here. The last couple of hours has been a real fairy tale come true for me. I'm chuffed to hear it. I massively enjoyed our time together too. I hope this is the first of many future gigs together. You're going to be one of the first people I ring the next time I need a partner. Anton poked her in the shoulder. Are you serious? You want me? Clara laid a hand on her chest. Yes, I want you, he laughed. If this is how we perform with only one rehearsal under our belt, just imagine all the possibilities with some proper preparation time. She was at a loss for words. Anton was impressed by her, little old Clara from Seattle. Her chest swelled. Maybe she was destined to make it all the way to the top and become a principal dancer. A pinching sensation in her foot, however, brought her back down to earth. Her shoulders hunched as she noticed the ribbons of her shoe digging into her skin. "Do you think I can ask you for a favor?" she inquired. "Of course. Name it," Anton replied, sounding concerned. "Do you think you can help me slip my point shoe off my frankenfoot?" She bit her lip. "It's getting uncomfortably tight, and it's probably going to take 2 people to yank it free." Anton knelt down and examined her foot. "It might be better if we have one of the physios cut it off. Pulling might do more damage." For the second time that evening, he picked her up and carried her into the treatment area. Doubts and fears swirled in Clara's mind. Dr. Evans had assured her she wouldn't make the foot worse than it already was. But what if he was wrong? What if she'd made a giant mistake pushing through the pain for nothing? Or worse, what if this turned out to be a career-ending injury? The weight of uncertainty bore down on her. Clara took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing thoughts. She knew she needed to trust the medical professionals and their expertise. It was their job to guide her through this, to make sure the right decision for her well-being and her future as a dancer. She closed her eyes, attempting to expel all the fear and anxiety. She reminded herself of her passion for dancing, the journey she had taken to get there, and the resilience that had brought her here for this. Whatever the outcome, she would face it head-on and find a way to keep pursuing her dreams. Once upstairs, the excellent physio staff asked Clara to stretch out on a treatment table as they cut and removed the shoe off her foot. Free from its prison, the limb was immediately less painful. It reminded her of changing into a pair of soft, stretchy yoga pants after eating a large meal. "Clara, go ahead and submerge your foot in the rubbish bin while I ring Dr. Evans," the kindly physio said. She inhaled sharply. Dipping her foot into the freezing cold water, she was filled with the sensation of pins and needles. As she gently flexed and moved her foot, she could feel some of the discomfort alleviating. Goosebumps formed on her arms and legs. She rubbed her hands over her forearms. Dr. Evans entered the room. "Anton, would you kindly grab a blanket for Miss Little?" He facepalmed. "I should have thought of that." "I'm fine," Clara said through chattering teeth. "You're brave for saying so, dear, but the ice is awful. If you can stand it, let's aim to have you ice the limb for 5 minutes total." "How did you get here so quickly? Or know where to find me?" "I'm all-knowing." "Wishful thinking, Doctor," Anton snorted. "I had one of the stagehands send word to him through the usher." He draped a fluffy fleece blanket over her shoulder. "Is that better?" "Much." She pulled the ends of the blanket tighter around her, like a superhero's cape. "Is there anything else I can do to make you more comfortable?" Anton asked. "No, you've done so much already. I really appreciate it. I'm just gonna head down to my dressing room and change then. I'll come and see you before I depart for the evening." She thanked him. "Anton's always a gentleman," Dr. Evans acknowledged. He located a dry towel and set it on the treatment table. "I think it's been long enough. Let's have a look at how you're doing." A few droplets of water splashed onto the ground as she lifted her foot out of the bin. Dr. Evans patted it dry and lightly prodded her toes. Clara attempted to look anywhere but her foot. She caught sight of a young, red-headed girl observing them lingering in the doorway. She glanced from the doctor and back to the girl. They had the same coloring and noses. "Is that your daughter?" "If it's a redhead with freckles and hair to her elbows, yes, that's my Jenna. She's beautiful." "That's all thanks to her mother. I'm afraid I can't take any credit for it." He tested the mobility of her ankle. "I'm sorry to pull you away from the show and your family, Dr. Evans," Clara apologized. "Think nothing of it, my dear. Remember, both the Evans women are ballet lovers. I just buy the tickets and provide the transportation. I'll be a hero after I treat you tonight. Jenna insisted on following me back here." "Would you be willing to meet her?" "Of course," Clara responded enthusiastically. He spun around in his chair. "Poppet, come over here. There's someone who'd like to meet you." Dr. Evans signaled for his daughter to join them. The youngest Evans entered the room carrying a bouquet of pink roses nearly as large as her. The plastic crinkled as she held them up. "These are for you," she said in a low whisper. "Hi, Jenna. It's nice to put a face to the name. Your dad has told me a lot about you. Thank you so much for these. They're gorgeous." Clara took hold of the arrangement. Her eyes fluttered as she sniffed them, and a sweet floral aroma tickled her nose. "Actually, they're not for me. They're for my friend David." Clara sat taller. "David was here?" Jenna nodded. "Auntie Charlotte is my godmother. She's our host tonight." Clara's eyebrows knitted together. "Charlotte would be Princess Charlotte, David's mother," Dr. Evans clarified. "Ah." Clara's attention returned to Jenna. "Does he seem to enjoy the show?" Butterflies fluttered in her stomach. "Yes, but he asked a lot of questions." She covered her mouth with her hand and giggled. "He thought there might be some singing. I had to explain that the gala wouldn't be like the opera." "As brilliant as Leeds is, sometimes he can be rather clueless." Dr. Evans shook his head. "Enough about David. What do you think about the dancing this evening?" Clara asked. "What were some of your favorite pieces?" "I think my favorite was a tie between dances at a gathering and the Sleeping Beauty pas. I really enjoyed the fast footwork Balanchine dancers are known for. But I loved how graceful and elegant you were when you played Aurora. I hope I can dance like you in the future." Clara rubbed the back of her neck. "Thank you," she said quietly. Jenna slowly warmed up to her. The two spent a few minutes discussing the favorite types of ballet styles and training. Meanwhile, Dr. Evans looked grimly at her foot and returned to examining it. "Papa, will you be able to set her right?" Jenna was staring at her father and Clara with a questioning look. "Papa can fix anything. He's the best of physicians." "Jenna, we think I might have broken my 4th and 5th toes. It's painful. I won't sugarcoat it. Maybe you can distract me while your dad finishes a quick evaluation. Ask me anything." "What are your favorite foods?" she questioned. Clara was hungry, and a question about food only made her think about it more. Maybe Amanda would be willing to go over to the St. George instead of them going out for dinner. She needed to text her friend soon, as the doctor was done. She refocused her attention on Jenna. What foods did she want to try other than fish and chips? Crumpets? Scones? She really didn't know much about British foods. "Back home, I love having dried mangoes, pineapples, nuts, and anything chocolate to snack on between rehearsals. But if we're going for actual food, I'm gonna have to say Hawaiian pizza." "What's on a Hawaiian pizza?" Jenna tilted her head sideways. "Pineapple, ham, cheese, and tomato sauce. It's the perfect blend of sweet and salty flavors, which I really enjoy." "I don't think I've ever heard of someone having pineapple at pizza. I wonder if my friend Jeremy would be willing to test some with me." "Your friend Jeremy will eat anything. He is a human rubbish disposal," Dr. Evans interjected. "What about local food? Have you tried fish and chips or any curry yet? London has so many yummy dishes to choose from." "Not yet, but it's good to know no matter what I order, it'll be good," Clara replied with a smile. "Jenna, I have to discuss a few things privately with my patient. You know the routine." "Why don't you go find your mom and let her know we'll be down in a few minutes," Dr. Evans suggested. Jenna pouted but agreed. "Thank you for chatting with me." She hugged her father and dashed out of the room. The bustle of activity from the stage was audible as the door swung open. Clara could hear the theater techs pulling down scenery and tidying up in preparation for the opera performance the following evening. Looking at her foot for the first time, now they were alone, she recoiled. It was twice its normal size. Splotches of green, purple, blue, and almost black patches made the foot look like someone had attempted to tie-dye it. The colors unnerved her, but past experience had taught her that bruising was good. It meant the blood flow was getting to the foot, hopefully facilitating a speedier recovery time. "How serious is it?" Clara asked in a hushed voice, clutching the table's edge. "I heard a popping sound when I tried to walk after the operation. My foot felt much more unstable, too." "It's amazing how the human body rallies when we need it to the most," Dr. Evans remembered. "The fracture feels the same, but there might be some ligament damage, too. I'll need to do some scans in the morning. It's a significant injury, but fortunately not one that will derail your career." A massive wave of relief stretched over her. Those were the exact words she needed to hear. Stay off it as best you can. I'll put an air cast on it for now. Clara sighed and resigned herself to her fate. All's well that ends well. Opening the door to her penthouse, Clara was delighted to see the king-size bed calling her name. She refused the services of the butler, but was grateful the staff had insisted on carrying her costume and dance bag up to her room upon seeing her return with crutches. She had forgotten to charge her phone earlier in the day, and the screen was dead. Hobbling to her purse, Clara blindly rummaged inside the black void, fishing for her charger and a converter plug. "Success!" she exclaimed to an empty room. Sinking down onto the bed, Clara stifled a yawn. Her phone and plug adapter were now connected to the wall. A slew of text messages loaded as soon as the screen glowed to life. Most could wait for a reply until the morning, but the one from Amanda caught her interest. "I'm terrible. There's so much going on and I completely forgot to text her." Amanda. "Hey C, I have some bad news. I'm not going to be able to make it to London as planned. The entire outbound crew of the Zurich flight is sick. I'm stuck working a turnaround. The airline expects us back at the airport in 12 hours. I'm so sorry. I feel like a jerk, but I promise I'll make it up to you. Maybe with a Disneyland trip? I won't say break a leg, but I know you will be amazing. Love you to bits, bestie." She shot off a quick, short reply to prove to her friend she was indeed still alive. Clara. "Thanks, eh? Exhausted and have so much to fill you in on. The show went as well as can be expected. I'll text you tomorrow. Time for food." If only Amanda knew how close her words were to the truth. My leg might not be broken, but my foot is. Clara ordered room service and enjoyed a quick dinner refuel, listening to the sounds of the television in the background before falling into a deep slumber. So that's it for chapter 13. Clara's injury is pretty gruesome, but not uncommon for a dancer. And something I learned from watching ballerinas and interviewing them and having worked with a few of them, they will dance through anything when it comes to a show. Their tolerance for pain is unbelievable. I have so much respect for them. Anyway, if you'd like to read ahead of me in Dancing with the Royal, you can pick up your ebook over on Amazon. It is part of Kindle Unlimited, or the paperback or hardbook wherever books are sold. So I'll see you next time. Have a good rest of your night.